he's wearing. Although I always preferred purple and oranges. Green and blue, it's kind of a bit down, bit of a downer color scheme.
Oh, you too.
Actually more gray and green. It's a little darker on at least on my computer.
I always thought it should be, good for tripping. Whatever the color scheme is, it should create a good trip, not a bad trip.
Okay, well, we're streaming now, so we're almost streaming the Gillmor game. We haven't actually started yet. This is our background talk.
Oh, it's live on LinkedIn, by the way.
We're live on LinkedIn. Great.
Yeah, we're live on the Facebook.
All righty.
And we are also live on X.
And I call it X Twitter.
TwitX.
Well, so no,
Apparently,
it's Twitter. It like used to be Twitter. It's a play on words there. Okay. Steve, how you doing? You good? You ready?
Just let's get going here.
He's waiting for the secret words, Tina.
That's right.
All right. The secret word today.
Say the word and see the magic duck.
There you go. Let me get Steve on here. Okay. Mute is off. And we're going to go in 3, 2, 1, and...
Hi, Steve Gillmor here. This is the Gillmor Gang. Joining us from... Two.
Oh, come on, just go.
No, two.
Oh, man. Okay, mute is off, and we're going to go in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, this is the Gillmor Gang for Friday, November 12th.
No, it's not.
It's not?
No.
Well, for all intents and purposes, it is.
That'll be 3.
No, we're going with this one.
No, this is the Raddest Gang. We'll be right back.
Oh, please.
I liked your whatever they call that thing, newsletter, Frank. It was very good this week.
Yes, and sometimes it works out. That one just sort of fell together. It was good. Even the music. It's really funny. The music is always
when was that recorded? That because McDonald was singing and playing, but not featured.
I was in the 70s, I think.
Yeah, it must have been.
And now he's back with the band. It's so weird. But it's cool because the guy who was playing the congas in that band, a guy named Bobby LeKind, I used to play in a band with him in Washington, D.C. We played bar mitzvahs at high school and things like that. And then he ended up in the Doobie Brothers. So there you go.
Nice.
The guy who was just talking is in the state of London, and his name is Frank Raddis. Welcome, Frank.
Hi, Steve. Hello, gangsters. It's good to see you all again. That's it. I got nothing else.
All right.
I mean, I have lots, but for now, that's all I got.
Don't give him too much.
I won't.
From the state of confusion is one of the little nice, but angry.
Brad's never angry.
There's an undercurrent of
no.
Why am I doing this?
No.
Yeah. See,
there we go.
he cannot not show his emotions.
I'm not good at I never was a good poker player.
That's the state of confusion, and that is Brent Leary. Welcome, Brent.
Should I answer or should I not? I'm so confused. What to do?
State of confusion.
That's all I got to.
All right. From right next to me on the directing and producing front is our wonderful person, Tina Chase Gillmor.
Oh, hi. Hi. Welcome to the Gillmor Gang. here we are. It's a Sunday and almost July. I'm gonna call it almost July.
And last but not least is Keith Tier.
And I just wanted to say that it wouldn't be the Raddis gang; it would be the Raddis roster, like and the Leary lineup,
Oh my
Gotta
God.
do the
and
alliteration there.
the Tier troop, Gillmor
True.
gang.
There we go.
Well, I think you're leaving out one, you might want to add to that.
Well, Tina to me is part of the Gillmor gang, so I can't really do one for her.
No, I was referring to you, like, like tears of joy, or I don't know.
Oh,
Tears for Fear.
Ooh,
Teardrop explodes.
we better just let's stick to the
Wow.
game.
Let's start this show
Yes, go ahead.
before we go down a really bad rabbit hole here.
I can't find us on X. You say it's live on X. It's open.
It
It's
is.
happening.
It is live on X. I got a notification and I clicked on it and it was there.
Did I not get a notification? Well, we'll figure that out some other time. Oh, I got it. Wait a minute. Boom. There it is.
There it is. Bam.
Whoop. Okay. I got one for you. Apparently, Taco did an X tweet in Farsi, and
Oh, no.
according to the report, it's the most viewed and liked tweet in Farsi in Iran.
Wow.
I don't know about that, but I just
Yeah,
find
where is that source? Who's
probably that's from the IDF.
Fox News?
The
And
idea and the IDF was prominently played out in Glastonbury last night by a band called Bob Villain.
It's a two-person. They call it a punk duo, but they sounded like rap to me.
They absolutely were hip hop. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but I mean, what a contrast! I mean, it blows me away that young people are prepared to see, that point of view as anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, when it clearly is mainly anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
It blows me away.
And then one of the other acts from Ireland, they made a movie out of them. I just completely forgot what their name was. Went after Kneecap. That was a really good movie, by the way.
And a great name for a band from Ireland, because that was the punishment that both sides gave to their own traitors.
and they went after the British Prime Minister, and the BBC really didn't like either of those two, so they wouldn't even play Kneecap's set, and they're going after the other band, Bob Villain. It's really interesting because it's a question that I had was, how far is an artist willing to go to let the people that are broadcasting their act change what it is that they're doing by deciding either not to broadcast them or to censor them?
Well, the super path to superstardom is to be banned by the BBC. God save the Queen and a fascist regime comes to mind.
There you go. Yeah. But watching last night and to see Neil Young perform, although he had some mic problems, it was really good. And that's a great thing about Glastonbury. You get Charlie XCX, Kneecap, and Neil Young on the same show. It's just insane.
So I guess where I was last Saturday night, not Saturday night, Monday night, I was in the Beacon Theatre on the Upper East Side.
Upper West Side,
listening to Paul Simon.
That was my neighborhood. I lived right around the corner from there.
Oh,
yeah. It was fantastic. He was
wow.
And he's just cancelled not the rest of his tour, but at least the next, because he has to go for a back surgery. So we saw his last live concert before this back surgery thing came up, and he's 83, and it was a wonderful, wonderful concert. He's done a new album which is called Seven Psalms. It's called Seven Psalms. He's become quite religious in quotes, and the seven songs end with a song called "Wait," which is a message to God that he's not ready to die yet. And prior to that, lots of the songs are called, they have the word Lord in it, where he debates with himself whether God is good or God is bad, and or whether he even exists. So it's very kind of dour and inward looking and self-thoughtful, but more like classical music with words and poetry. That's the first 33 minutes. The rest of the concert, which is another 2 hours, was all hits. It was fantastic.
There's just so many of the greats that we came to know in our lifetimes that are starting to not just show their frailty, but to disappear. And it's really sad.
Yeah.
Oh, there must be a brighter note. Let's talk about the bombing.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, Steve, I'm sorry that I went off on that tangent.
You're not sorry.
No, I'm not, but I apologize anyway.
Well, take it for what that's worth.
Well, I mean, what a dramatic week. I mean, I just spent the morning watching various podcasts and also Meet the Press. And the number of talking points where there's absolutely no consensus is quite a long list now. I mean, the guy in New York who won the Democratic mayoral primary.
Mamdani.
Then whether Trump is a hero or a villain, the micro debates about did the bombing succeed and if so, how much did it succeed? Almost everything is contested.
Yeah. Or did its succeeding or not succeeding also force the Iranians to work harder to create a bomb? There's, there's so many layers in all of this. And then of course there's the big, beautiful bill. And that it just seems to me that it's been made really clear that thousands and thousands of people are going to be lose their health care. Thousands of people are going to be hurt by this Medicare cut. Thousands of people, especially in red states, are going to be damaged severely by this bill. However, where is the outrage? It's certainly not on Capitol Hill.
Well, I think the best commentary I've seen is Elon Musk's. Elon said that it was a disgusting bill. And his point is well taken. When you stand back and you ask, how good is government? And you end up debating taxing, extending the taxes that give a break to the rich and the cuts in Medicare. To me, those are micro points. The bigger point is we have a totally dysfunctional attitude to how to spend money to make life better. And the New York guy this morning, to his credit, whatever you think of him, he's got a very clear narrative on that, very clear, in terms of how much wealth is not serving everybody, and government is mainly wasteful, which is Musk's point. And I think the minute you get into a Democratic versus Republican debate on specific parts of the bill, you'll lose the big picture. It's much better
to do that then. Tina, give me your thoughts about the guy that he was just talking about. We watched the Meet the Press, as well.
I mean, I kind of like him. I thought, I mean, he's certainly not running away from his socialism. I don't know ultimately how that is going to play out. Probably not great. I'm predicting. I think that, I like that he was, he seems to be a soft man. I do I put a certain amount of emphasis on impression, really, because I think people do when they go to vote. So there has been some controversy about whether he's anti-Semitic or he's been saying anti-Semitic things or some of his policy ideas are anti-Semitic. The way he handled it on the show today, I didn't feel that he was, and I almost felt like know that there would be some like kinship with Jewish Americans, but uh I don't, being a Muslim and being young and being a socialist, I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna fly well with voters.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, especially not really knowing who it is he's going to end up going against. And then you've got Adams trying to come back in as an independent, and there's actually some scuttlebutt out there that Cuomo is going to try and come back in somehow, which will make for a really wild race in the end. I mean, he's got. I look at this guy Mamdani. Think about the way that he marketed himself. The money that was spent by Cuomo was spent in traditional advertising ways, in newspapers and television ads. And Mamdani's was grassroots and online. And he really got almost all of New York, except for, of all things, the Upper West Side. He did not win the upper. No, he only beat Cuomo by a small fraction, but lost to Cuomo by a small fraction. But nonetheless, that was one area where he lost. But if you look at the overall numbers, his numbers were pretty significant. So what does that say? Does that say that the youth vote was out for him? Does it say that people want to change?
He's the leading candidate for mayor.
Yeah,
I also,
no, I mean, if all things continue the way they are, he's going to win.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
The interesting point, Steve, to the point you often make on the show, and this was echoed in some of the podcasts, which is the belief that the middle is going to collapse, and that you're really faced with a Democratic Party that looks like him and possibly AOC, with backing support from Bernie Sanders, versus MAGA, and that election choices are the middle's going to not be capable of holding against those two sides. I don't know if that's true.
Well, I think that you can call Cuomo the middle. He was pretty beaten down by the left and right wings because of personal behavior or alleged personal behavior. So I think that kind of took care of him. And what's going on with it was also interesting to see what's the majority leader's name, or not the majority, the head of
Jeffries.
Yeah, Jeffries. It was interesting to see Jeffries kind of trying to wriggle out of supporting everything about the guy's candidacy, but not endorsing him, which I think, if that plays out, will make his endorsement irrelevant and therefore be an implicit endorsement of Manduri.
And I don't think that the MAGA will do anything in New York City.
Right.
Anyway, so I think that honestly, I don't think that they matter or count.
No, I was more referring to national politics. Prefiguring national politics through this development. Who knows?
Well, but you think about national politics, which surprised me was that there's still a large number of Republican voters who are in favor of the bill, there's a couple of things at play there. One, they don't know what's in the bill, or two, they're just so blindly being led by the sheep herder that they'll do whatever it takes.
It's tax cuts, Frank. I mean, even I, as a very high, probably the highest rate of tax payer, kind of welcome a little bit of relief there.
Well,
not that I
I'm
need
not.
as much as poor people, but just on a personal, self-interest note, I don't mind not paying so many taxes.
Well, since I do pay tax in America, I applaud that.
I think the tide is moving in his favor. Whether this is adopted by the Democratic Party as a national issue or not is kind of irrelevant. From an economic perspective, he's got the issue that he needs to win.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I thought the bombing helped him. I thought he looked suddenly decisive.
Who are we talking about? I was talking about Mandori.
Oh, I was talking about Trump.
Mamdani.
I was talking about Trump, but I actually think, weirdly enough, both benefit, both in different ways from their own constituencies.
Well,
I don't know.
Trump's not running for anything because he's term limited.
And I'm not sure he was helped by the bombing. And I mean, to me, it looked like, and maybe it's because I study this so much. To me, it looked like he was, oh, wow, look, the Israelis, they did that. I got to jump on that bandwagon. And now that whole rigmarole of did those bombs work? And then the additional part of it, which was that when they went to Isfahan, they didn't even use those bombs, which basically said they did not destroy all of the infrastructure. And by the way, if they had gotten the enriched uranium, wouldn't there be a radiation fallout issue? Yeah, I don't know.
I think you're buying into too much of the Democratic narrative there. I think the truth is it completely reshaped the politics of the Middle East, at least for the next 10 years, whether he destroyed them or not. The fact of how much he destroyed is not unimportant, but the bigger picture is Saudi Arabia, Israel, the UAE are all strengthened. Iran is weakened. The politics of that region, with Iran as a major threat that scares everyone, has shifted. And Trump's re-engagement with NATO, the 5% GDP spending on the military, which I think is probably mainly BS, but just the headlines of it, all make it look as if the entire world is now more stable. And
I agree with some of that, Keith. I'm sorry to interrupt, but the Middle East is an area that you might think will change, but I'm telling you, it won't. It just won't, because the Middle East is something that absolutely no one that doesn't live in the Middle East understands or has spent a lot of time there.
You can't say it won't change, but I do agree with you. What you're implying is the fundamentals won't change, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
But it does change on the margin in terms of what happens. And the balance of power, you can't really deny it. I mean, there's no point in denying it. The balance of power has completely shifted towards Israel and Saudi Arabia and their friends. And America has contributed to that. You can be against that on the basis of support for Palestinian rights and so on, but you can't really analyze it differently than that.
I think I don't know. I actually, when this happened, sat back and went, he doesn't have a clue what's going on in the Middle East. He thought that the Middle, maybe I'm parroting the Democratic.
I don't know why you would say that, because the opposite seems so obvious to me.
I think he's saying that because he thinks that.
But what's the basis for supporting that?
I don't know. The time I've spent in the Middle East. The people in my family who are living in the Middle East. These are things that I feel pretty strongly about, and is what I think. That's basically.
But what you're talking about is baked in resentments and hostilities, which I agree with, by the way. That bit I totally agree with. But I'm more talking about geopolitical realities.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that Iran's taken a big hit. There's no doubt about that, and there is no doubt that that they weren't going to get any support from Saudi Arabia or from Qatar, certainly not from Qatar, for any of the outlying Arabian partners that they might have once had. But I can tell you this: Iranians are not Arabians, and and they simply aren't, and they will not even. They don't identify as that. They identify as Persians, and so
Yeah.
they did not have a regime a change in the regime, and the mullahs are still in charge, and there is still a look. I don't like what's going on there. By the way, I'm not defending this. I'm just saying that this is what it looks like to me.
I mean, anecdotally, the chairman of my board of my company is Persian. One of my co-founders is Persian. One of my best friends is Persian. They're all regime haters.
Yeah. Well,
so Persians are not pushovers for the Ayatollahs at all.
No, I totally agree with that. Yes, and that is pretty much the way it is. But they have an iron grip, and why do they have an iron grip? Because they have the military. And why do they have the military? Because they're paying them, and if they weren't paying them, they wouldn't have any jobs at all. So the military, which is the backbone of what's going on, are beholden to the mullahs.
Yeah, but I would go back to I was in college, and there was 4 of us living in this house, and 2 of them were Persian, and they were members of a political organization called the Tudeh Party, which is the Iranian Communist Party that was pro-Russian. They read Lenin all day, and when the revolution against the Shah happened, they didn't distinguish between the Ayatollahs and the people, and they supported the Ayatollahs.
Yeah.
So the roots of the Ayatollah's victory is support from the left against the Shah. And this idea that the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Until they got in.
Right.
And showed who they were.
Right. So the big mistake is the left not understanding that people mean what they say. And
isn't that what we're going through with the right?
And the left, I think, actually. I think the left is as crippled as the right by their history.
Anyway, here you go. That was it for me and my emotions.
Also, I think with the Iranian bombing that we did, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know we don't know where the plutonium is, really. We don't know if there are other sites that are also, very troublesome to us without, and we don't know it. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. And I think that makes for a very hard time to analyze what this has really done. And I don't know that we're going to know.
I think we will eventually. But I think you're right. I think we will know eventually.
I mean, we go through a weapons of mass destruction thing, as I recall. And that didn't turn out to be what we thought it was.
Well, that's true. And I think that's why a lot of people in America are leery of all of this, Brent. I was going to say our Brent of all of this, but I didn't. And it just seems to me, look, there's going to be a lot of people that live there who are spying on them. And there's going to be a lot of retribution for people who have already leaked information while they continue to try and get information. I would not be surprised to start seeing people getting hurt or killed in the streets because they're suspected of being spies. And I think that might keep some of the information from getting out as quickly as it might, because I guarantee you the Mossad is in there.
But your point earlier, Frank, about the popularity of the Trump tweet does speak to
right.
the balance of power there. And yeah. I think the mullahs are quite constrained in the extent to which they can double down on oppressing their own people without there being consequences. Now, I would suspect they know they're weak. They've
I
just
hope you're right. I hope you're right.
I mean, if you step up to above that level, I find it very hard to think through. In a world made up of nations that have nuclear power, which we all think Israel is one, where China, Russia, and America are three, as well as France and the UK, and apparently South Africa, Pakistan, India.
Yeah.
And where science, I watched a YouTube this morning that talks about how to refine uranium. And it was, all the science was in the YouTube video. It seems impossible to ban science, even if you kill scientists. You know, they all had students who learned that science. And so the truth is, as long as the world thinks of itself as a competing set of nation states, which is probably for a long time in the future, nations that don't have nuclear weapons are going to always have a viable path to change that fact.
Yeah.
And bombing them only slows them down. So the bigger problem is globalism versus nationalism, where I always side on the side of globalism, but that doesn't really give you a path to make it happen. There's no practical step-by-step guide to us all loving each other because we're human.
But you know, the idea that the world's loudest nationalist became a globalist in an instant. And I find that to be an interesting change, because now a lot of the people who were saying, no, we don't even, you've even got Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene getting angry at Donald Trump for his attacks, not because the attacks might have been right or followed the Israelis, but because they made him a globalist.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Well, globalist can mean the domination of the globe by a single state, or it can mean we reorganize the world's politics where states are subordinate to global government. There's many meanings of the word globalist.
It can also mean that you're doing business with the globe.
Well, that's like multilateral nationalisms.
Yeah.
So it can have many meanings. The Star Trek meaning is my favorite, which is there are no nations and we all work together. Yes, may the force be with you, or whatever that. It's not that. It's what's the other one?
That's the Vulcan thing. That's may the fourth be with you. So
yeah. But I do think as a human being, I don't want to be in a world where I'm forced to take the side of one nation against all the others.
In a world.
That's not who I want to be.
Yeah. Me neither.
What do you all make of Eric Trump's
standing for president,
talking about running in the next election?
I would say he is not a Jedi.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
I don't think he has a chance.
Absolutely not.
I do think Vance has a chance.
I think, though, that, you know, what they're trying to do here, though, is just talk about the Trumps sort of ruling the United States for a while. And, you know, there's a few generations there that maybe could do it. I don't know that Eric Trump could do it. He certainly has been.
He's the dumb one on Saturday night.
Yes. He's the dumb one anyway. It's the Kennedys.
No,
they
but
want to be the right.
Live.
Yeah.
They haven't
True source of all political insight these days.
They don't have their version of Camelot unless it's Mar-a-Lago, which I think it isn't.
Well, we're very far afield from anything interesting, frankly. So
See, what's interesting to you?
Yeah, what is interesting?
What's interesting to me is that the table has been reset as far as the Democrats having actually a pulse.
Been reset how?
By this
guy in New York.
His last name, yeah, the guy in New York.
Mamdani.
He doesn't care about globalism. He cares about economic reality on the streets of New York, and he's got 400,000 people voting for him.
It sounds like London. Um, what he's trying to do. It just I gotta get this feeling that it feels like the UK.
And Venice, actually, a similar
Yeah.
thing happened in Venice.
So in other words, there's water in the streets. What's Venice got to do with this?
Mayoral elections, the anti-tourist stuff in Venice. Have you been following all that?
Yeah,
Definitely.
except for the wedding.
It's people who live in Venice versus everyone coming in. Like, let's look after Venice people first. It was the winning argument there.
Mhm.
There were a lot of
You're
people that
tracking this. How come?
I just
What media channel?
randomly.
So the
What? No, I was asking the question. What media outlet convinced you that this was worth your time?
I read a lot of British newspapers. The Daily Telegraph's my current favorite in terms of content, if not politics, just because it's well written.
So
I-
why is a British organ, pardon the expression, talking about Venice?
because British tourists are treated hostilely by Venice residents when they go there.
it's funny that this is actually a story, given that Bezos has spent $53 million to have a wedding and flown in every big celebrity in the world, and the people in Venice who have said over and over again that they don't want the tourists because the tourists come in and ruin stuff, are very happy that now all the water taxis are getting used and everybody's getting work and the restaurants are busy. But we don't like this. But we're really happy that the money's coming in. But we don't like this.
Yeah.
Well, got you to smile, Steve. Good on me.
If you think of it historically, we moved from globalism to nationalism to regionalism, like in the Yugoslavia one. Now we're going to cityism.
If I have anything to do with it, yes, absolutely.
And cityism is probably the best of them all because there's a very good reason to care about your city because you live there.
but Frank, it's like that with every city that relies on tourism.
Yeah.
Charleston is one of them. And we, as residents, you can kind of like, the traffic and the people and whatever gets generated. And then but we love them. We can't exist without
Amsterdam
them.
doesn't want any more drunk Brits, and Benidorm is kind of tired of them.
Ooh,
Benidorm and Amsterdam.
what is Benidorm?
It's a place in Spain where a lot of Brits vacation. But they're very angry about the British invasion in Barcelona and Madrid. But let me think, where does the money come from?
Yeah.
Tourism. But they're angry.
It can.
But actually, Frank, double down on the anger and try to analyze it from the point of view of its impact on politics.
Mm.
It has a huge impact.
Yeah, it does.
On who wins. And I think that's part of the New York thing, the anger at, triple tax, because you got city tax as well as state tax as well as federal tax.
Don't I know it?
The fact that the poor areas are taxed more than the rich areas pro rata. And there's quite a bit of anti-immigrant sentiment from the left due to the drain on resources. The local politics are pretty impacted by all these issues.
Brent, can you tell us a little bit about your experiments with AI?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing some. That's a
Well,
little.
Can you
No,
elaborate?
I'm
let
just
me ask it a different way. Are you willing to talk about it?
Nah, you gotta move with the tide, right? You gotta see what all the stuff is, all what's causing all the hubbub.
Okay, so what is it you're doing?
Well, I mean, I don't know how interesting it is, but Um, I'm trying to figure out always ways that I can use, like, not just AI, but technology in general. But right now, it's all about AI and trying to distribute content faster and with less effort and trying to get it in front of as many eyeballs as possible. So I've been playing with, well, originally I was playing with Perplexity and trying to figure out like the best way to take like a recording like from a show like this and um, see how I can easily turn it into um, actually just turn it into different formats and then put it in different places. So you take like a recording of a show like this, and there's so many different little tools now out there, tools that will analyze the video and create a transcript and give you summaries of the conversation, give you a full-blown transcript from the conversation. So I started out with Perplexity and actually is a mix of Opus AI, which is one of those video AI editors. I use two of those. I use Opus and this other one called Minvo. I think we even talked about this stuff before. And I have to say, like those, I've been using some of these things for 2 years, and they have come a long way in doing things. And like some of them, like I believe it's Minvo or it might be Opus too. They give you you can get a full-blown transcript off these things. You get the summarizations, you get blog posts written, and you can actually, as it analyzes a video, you can write a prompt to tell it to go to certain things and make a clip from that. And then what I like about using those tools, and particularly like the ones that also give you a transcript, is then you can feed the transcript into something like Perplexity and get a summary. So I've been using Perplexity like that for a while. And I guess a couple of weeks ago, I wanted to do like a 30-day trial for what is it, Gemini Pro. And Gemini Pro
Google.
it's quickly, yeah, it's cool. It's quickly becoming one of my favorites because I can actually take the YouTube recording, upload it to Gemini Pro, and ask it to make me a transcript, and I don't have to do anything else. And it's smart enough to know, like, if it can associate somebody's name with a voice, and if you have everybody introduce themselves on a recording, that seems to be all you need to do. So before it can give you not just the transcript, but give you the person speaking and what they said instead of getting like with Adobe, you would get a whole bunch of unknown speaker stuff. Now you're getting it to the point where you just upload the video, and if everybody introduces themselves, it's smart enough to know the voice and put the words to the voice.
But how
Now,
does it know the name?
I said when you do your recording, like you guys do here, you introduce each of us and then we start talking. So it's smart enough to know, oh, that person must be, associated to Brent Leary or that, and then anything I say, it knows it's me, and it and actually put my words to my name in a transcript only by uploading the video. Like I know Zoom is because we all log in, Zoom can do that stuff. But now you got something that you don't even have to. As long as you get people's name and they can associate that name to a voice, it can track everything they say to their name.
Have you tried Owl?
I tried that a while ago. It it, it didn't really impress me as
Okay.
much. But I haven't looked at it in a long time. But this Geo thing, I also made that. We've been doing the CRM Players show for like 16 years, and we never had an intro. I think both of us just thought it was corny. Because everybody else had an intro, but I
You're
just,
talking about a video intro, right?
yeah, well, yeah. So I use this. What is it called? VO,
Yeah,
Gemini VO.
VO3.
Yeah,
VO3.
VO3. And literally within like 7 or 8 minutes, I had like a 20-second intro that we actually liked, and it just was me saying I would like this is the setup I want, and then it would give it to me. It give you a couple of options. You can refine it, say, all right, now change this, now change that, now add this, now add that, and within, like I said, 7 minutes, I had an intro that was happy enough that we started using the intro. Now before that might have, I had to pay somebody to do that stuff. Um, Now I'm paying $20 a month, and I'm getting from uploaded video to full blown transcript without me having to, do a whole bunch of wriggling around with it. I'm creating intros and outros. And of course, the deep research is actually really good. I mean, so I still like Perplexity, but now I'm seeing myself, Perplexity doesn't do certain things.
What do you mean by deep research?
Well, there's all they have, each of these things have a deep research button. So instead of like doing like a kind of a high level overview thing, you can ask them to go into deep research. And then they walk you through the steps that they're doing in order to do what they call deep research. And they all kind of have it now, but
And
they're not all the same.
which of the number of things that you're using are you interested in for about the deep research part?
I'm still figuring that out. I mean, Perplexity still does a really good job with all that stuff. But sometimes Perplexity doesn't, it times out so many times. Like I just get tired of having to try again, try again. So far Gemini Pro doesn't have that problem. And I don't think Gemini Pro, well, I mean, Perplexity doesn't allow me to upload a video and create a transcript from it. Whereas this is like, I was like, and as long as it's like a 60-minute or less recording, it can do it. And I'm putting out like these transcripts are very long because it's 60 minutes worth of conversation, and it actually handles that. So, I mean, depending on what you're needing, you're seeing a lot of these things being able to do so many time-consuming tasks that you just wouldn't have done it. But now you have tools that actually are enabling you to do it. And so between my video AI tools and these, LM kind of things, although the deal with Google, I'm seeing so many tools they're putting in to this $20 a month,
This is
way more.
VO3.
No, well, it's Gemini Pro, which gives you access to VO3.
And that's only $20 a month.
Yeah.
On my, I'm just trying it. I just uploaded my video from yesterday, and it's in the middle of doing it, but it's telling me it's going to cost me $1.25 for 200 tokens of input and $10 for 200 tokens of output. So
I don't get that.
is
How
it
much-
pay as you go?
No, I
Why-
signed up for
why
a
is-
trial.
Right. So right
free
now
trial.
you're getting it for free.
And then it'll go to like if I don't cut the trial off before they start, I think it's like $20 a week. Excuse me, $20 a month.
So what about the people who are losing their jobs because somebody is creating videos with transcripts and look, I love this stuff and I'm absolutely going to go and do it. But I'm sitting here going, these are jobs. Now,
Yeah, but
it's also forward thinking and movement and all of that. I get all that. It's still, maybe it's the old guy in me.
I
don't know.
remember just getting a transcript done by a human before like Rev came out and all this other stuff. It was costing me like $2 a minute. So if I had a 20
and
minute,
it took a day to get it.
yeah, you don't get it back in minutes. So I mean, it's kind of hard to justify paying that when now it
particularly
comes as part of a
because-
service.
Particularly because all of these AI plays are basically giving away on the front end in order to get scale enough to be able to survive. So
It's just like drug
the
dealing.
market's going to just well,
Wow.
no comment. But
I heard.
But I will say that the trend, if you try to do a trend, I think there's two trends. One trend is really good quality stuff for free. And because the older models, which are still very good, tend towards free. And then secondly, increasing subscription prices up to $200 a month for the best current capabilities.
Well, there's actually just on the show we had, I think it was last week, we had Dr. Michael Wu on, who is a data scientist and PhD in data science. And
And very, very well spoken about making things that are complex sound simple.
absolutely. So we were actually talking about the kind of the pricing models and all this stuff. And he says, well, when you think about it in the context of what these things can do or can't do, you can actually the cost for $20 is actually not as good as a deal as the cost for what you get for the $240 a month because you could do scale and complexity to like the exponential degree compared to the what people are paying for the $20. So although it's cheaper, it's not as good a deal in comparison to what you get for the 240 bucks.
So I got the result from a 33-minute video just now, and I started it just after Brent started talking, and I've got a full
Wow.
transcript with timings and names and everything.
Damn. How can humans compete with that?
Yeah, they can't. They can't.
No, I
Yeah.
disagree. They compete by using it and getting good at it. The biggest problem that I see all of this technology being thrown at this problem, which, as far as generative is concerned, is not a problem. It's bullshit. In my the the biggest problem is that you can begin to develop a sense of the limits of this of application of technology. I was listening to Keith's uh, video with Andrew Keen the other day. Very good show, and he was referring in the video to the fact, or I don't know if he referred to it or Andrew referred to it, but they basically said that this was not actually written. The editorial wasn't written by Keith; it was written by Keith and Perplexity.
That's right.
And uh, there are some telltale DNA associated with that understanding, which I didn't really pick up on until I heard that comment. And then I pretty much triangulated it and isolated the point where I no longer believed anything that was being said, which is to me an artifact of uh, the trust problem with AI. So
Yeah.
I think that that's going to uh, become the biggest problem that people, producers have with this is the authenticity and the motivation of the content.
I agree. I agree that authenticity is the right framing. And I think it comes down to how much the human puts in. I was talking to Jenny about this morning because she has an editor at Crunchbase who edits her stuff, a human editor, and they're not allowed to use an AI editor. And I thought, well, why not? Because Jenny gives the authenticity, and the editorial function is not really the same as hers. It's to correct grammar or maybe make sentences clearer, stuff like that. Maybe do headlines. I don't know. So it would feel to me that authenticity isn't uncompromised if the balance is correct.
Yeah, I don't agree. I think the secret to good writing uh, is the human mind behind the writing, and the human mind. Uh, I wouldn't call myself a good writer. I'm a fair writer. There are a few people who, on any given subject, I don't really care about it. There's a guy named Ian Leslie, for example, who has a blog or whatever they call them these days, a newsletter called The Ruffian, and he's written a book about John and Paul, about the relationship between the two Beatles as co-authors, and on and on. Uh, but he had an article as a result of that. He's one of the two or three uh, weblogs that I actually subscribe to. And the other day, he, Below the Fold, had a long piece on Starmer. What is his name?
Starmer.
Starmer. And it was just packed with subtle insight. And, you know, uh, it is not a function, in my opinion, of rhythm or it's basically breaking the algorithm of machine uh, uh, fixing or editing. I don't think that's going to sustain itself. In fact, I know it isn't because as soon as I got, uh, you can use these tools, these AI tools, to identify why you don't want to listen to what they're saying.
Hmm. I wrote a script for a documentary that I'm working on, and I just felt that it was time to run it through Perplexity and see what it would come out as. And I did it a couple of times, and I added a couple of things that I wanted it to do, and I wanted it to sound like me, and I wanted it to. There were things that you could put into it, plus the words that you actually first wrote, and what came out felt way too machine like for me. It didn't feel like I had written a script that was in my voice, and I tried over and over again to try and get it to do that. And I think it has a lot to do with what it is you ask the LLM to do, and how you ask it, which I don't think I've managed to become an expert at yet. I'm going to keep trying, but I feel the same way you do, Steve.
I think there's a related problem here, which is, and I don't specifically remember, over the past month or so, I've seen some articles that allude to this, but I can't give you a citation because if I haven't saved it in Perplexity so that I can go look at the source, then I don't know what happened. But the issue is the AIs like to please their author, their prompter, and as a result, that's the first thing that you can detect about the presence of an AI is, oh, that was really interesting what they were just talking about, but it sort of ran out of gas, and all of a sudden they're talking not about the fact that that just ran out of gas. They're talking about what is the next kind of handoff in terms of value being created that people want. And I think that that's just an artificial barrier to any credibility overall. I mean, when you get really talented editors, producers, creators, writers glomming onto this and realizing that they are being intuitively examined or weighed based on these on the basically the trick of an LLM, that they're going to have to make changes, and I don't think that's going to happen quickly.
Ian Waring is has apparently doing a lot of this as well, and he's been pretty active here on our chat today. One of the things that he brought up I thought was interesting was he asked, I'm not sure which one he asked him to do a list.
I'm not sure. What was the guy's name who's comments a lot, Tina?
Ian.
Okay, so maybe I misused his name to talk about the John and Paul author.
Don't know. But he makes a good point of doing a list of 10 books and for a specific reason, and getting out of those 10, 2 of them didn't even exist, which I think throws up red flags.
Well, I think we should have all learned by now that AI isn't for fact checking.
Yeah.
AI is for conceptual
Yeah.
and intellectual consideration. Sometimes it's for problem solving. Sometimes it's for creation of either words or code.
Yeah.
But it's not a replacement for a fact checker.
So it's very specifically the Defense Department under Mr. Hegseth created a document that was found to have had many elements of it unfact checkable because it was completely done in AI. So I think that you run a risk of getting caught with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right.
It's one of the reasons this copyright cases this week were won by AI was based on the fact that AI doesn't copy from it.
You talk about this on your show for about an hour, so I'll refer people to that because it's a really good show and really interesting. But I don't want to duplicate it, please.
Yeah, but I mean, to your point, Steve, I think my most authentic stuff is the video because you can't AI the video. You're just talking to someone. And not yet, not yet.
Not clear. Well, maybe not yet. Maybe.
But my editorial, I don't know if Brent, you do this, but what I did is I wrote my editorial, and I gave it to, in my case, Perplexity, and said, "Here's 10 of my editorials. Using my normal approach, look at this editorial and suggest improvements." And it came back with, I would say, a better version, but essentially the same as mine, but better. And I wasn't happy with it. So then I gave it some specific articles, like I gave it Malik's article on tolls and said, okay, in the spirit of what I've already written, write me just a paragraph on this. And it added a whole new paragraph about Ohm's thing that I didn't write.
Did it put it where you wanted it to be?
I didn't. I told it not to put it anywhere, to give it to me, and I'd copy and paste it. And then I edited it for my tone and copy and pasted it. But it was very back and forth. And by the end, I definitely had played the role of the writer and the overriding editor, but it had played the role of a sidekick, a good sidekick.
Well, it's an assistant. That's what it's supposed to be, or a co-pilot, right? I mean, that's kind of what a lot of this is supposed to be. I mean, the way I use it is I ask it for the transcript because that's close to verbatim. So there shouldn't be no messing around with that. Then I also, I get the transcript from the video, editing AI. Then I take that and then I upload it to like Perplexity. I say summarize this, and I get the summary and I look at it. It's like, all right, yeah, I'm not gonna use the exact wording for some of this stuff, so I put things in that just I write that gets apart. Like you were saying, it's kind of like a co-pilot or assistant or whatever. So the only thing that's verbatim is the transcript, and then and there's a summary, but then I'll hack into that and I'll write an intro or something like that. And I usually leave it at that because I don't want to get too, I don't want to keep going back and forth. So it feels like, wait a minute, this is getting way too much more like they're doing it as opposed to me. And quite honestly, you can spot when it's pretty much untouched AI written.
Yeah.
Because they use words that I don't use.
Yeah.
And they use words that like, okay, I'm seeing this. I saw it in this blog. I saw it in this thing. I don't talk like that, and I don't want people to think I write like that or talk like that. So I'll take certain aspects of this stuff, but then I want my voice. I think I'm better at my voice than even that, because sometimes I'll use a word out of the blue, and it's not like I use it all the time, but I don't want it to think, to think or spit out the same stuff over and over at me because
Well,
it
that's the reason for editing your own and stuff that's already been edited by the AI.
Yeah, so I think I think what's the old saying? Your job won't be overtaken by AI, but it will be overtaken by a human that uses AI alongside of them. I believe that. I think if you're
I don't
pure,
believe I don't
okay.
believe No,
I do, but that's
Exact
okay.
opposite. I think the exact opposite is true. I think this is a fatal flaw of the use of this technology. And there may well be something that comes along, but we haven't seen it yet. At least I haven't. And
Well,
around a bunch of people like you guys that have been banging away at this for months. I mean, Keith's been doing this now for Jesus. And uh,
I have not been doing this for Jesus, just for the record.
I didn't. You know what? I knew that's what he. I figured he'd say that.
see,
coding for Jesus, huh?
You know what I find so interesting, and I haven't been experimenting with AI, so let me admit that right now. But I find it really interesting and exciting. Um, what I see and what I hear and what I feel when we all start to talk about this is that AI right now um, can be used. I don't want to use the word properly, but it can be used to help, to assist, to maybe even help you generate some ideas or to fill in some gaps or something. Um, but there is this, and Steve brings up this trust thing, which I also really feel like I don't want to lose I guess the humanity in what we do, whatever it is, whether it's writing or it's coding or whatever. But I feel like there are acceptable ways to use it that people can kind of trust right now, and that we need to be careful about like staying there on that, like caring about the trust. Um and maybe it's a matter of not going too fast with this, um to take this slowly. But as we all know, being in and out of the technology industry, if slow is not something that we aspire to. It's usually like go as fast as you can and break things and all that stuff. um i I do, for writing, I can see it as soulless. Um, and I don't think any of us would want to come off as soulless in our writing or in something that we're trying to convey. But
Some of us can't help it, Tina.
I've been
Smart
called
soulless,
soulless
right?
before,
and in
so
saying that, you're denying that that's true.
Of course.
It's funny. It's not soulless.
I just think that there's just
Unless
this
you're Brian Solis.
this place that
Oh.
we really have to keep this um promise that we don't dip into these places that are untrustworthy. um because I think it just like ruins it for everyone then. So it's like, which applications can we kind of go and forge ahead with and have people feel comfortable with, because it can do some grunt work, it can do some labor, and yes, it might replace some people's jobs, but can we as employees or as workers, can we get enhanced by AI? Probably, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think there's two trends we should separate out. The one is the co-pilot trend, and I think we're all super familiar with that. The other is workflow management, which is more of an enterprise focus, where you build agents that have access to databases and can use deterministic knowledge derived from a database to pursue a task to completion. And that is emerging and growing, and increasingly will be able to do things that previously needed manual human help. The more specialist, the more applicable, I would say. The more generalist, like product managers, are probably not going to be replaced, but I think workflow managers will be.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the enterprise side. There will be definitely an impact on jobs. Microsoft's reduction in force is discussed in that context. I don't know if it really is about that, but people are saying it is. So, so I do think it's nuanced. I don't think it's binary, as in all jobs will go away. 20% of jobs in 2 years that the Anthropic guy said. I don't believe that, but I think there will be massive change, and work-related tasks will be done by AI that currently are not.
Yeah, there was an article, I think it came out earlier this week, and it said, I think it's Microsoft and, well, I guess you call it Meta, or is it Alphabet? Yeah, I think it's Alphabet. Microsoft and Alphabet, for certain projects on the developer side, those projects are being done. I think the work of those projects, 30 to 50% of the coding is actually being done by like vibe coding. And I think, next year, a year from now, that number is going to be significantly higher. And it's going to be almost sort of like a industry practice that a lot of these applications are going to be coded. I don't know if it'll be a majority by AI, but a significantly amount of these applications are actually going to be done by AI, which means where are all the developers that are used to doing this stuff from scratch by themselves? What are they going to do? Because if 30% turns into 50% and 60% and 70%, it's a hell of a lot of people that
Yeah,
are
this
going to
is
be out of
what
their job.
happens. This is what happens when people were producers and now they're called creators.
Yeah. I was thinking
Same
about
people, and many of them are going to have better jobs right before they have no job.
yeah.
So, I mean, if you were paying the salaries of those people, let's say you had 1,000 developers, you have to be asking the question, could 10 developers with 1,000 agents each do the work of what is currently done by 1,000 developers?
No.
I think the answer might be yes.
Okay, well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is yes, because I think there's a lot of
I'm saying it isn't the answer.
So
No.
in the early days, when AI started as a thing that we were all talking about and looking at, you would use an AI and it would go out and search for a sort of a finite amount of content that it would then bring back into the AI to accomplish what you wanted it to do, until we were able to insert our own content into the AI that then advised and informed whatever it was you wanted to do. The next step of that is that the AI is going to be informing the AI.
Hey, can I
Right?
break in
If we're
for a
not
second?
already there.
yeah.
I don't know. Can you?
I think I can. I think I just did. Let's say a happy birthday to Deanne Reed Vane.
Yeah, let's do that.
Happy
I-
birthday. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Birthday, Dee.
Yeah, I see she was just commenting, and then I also saw she's at one of my Facebook birthday notifications. So hope
Aw.
you're having a great day. I don't know why you're listening to us though. You should really go out
I,
and celebrate.
thanks for reducing the audience by 50%. That's great. Okay, listen, I want to wrap this up. Go ahead, Tina.
What?
Well,
I was just doing the wrap up thing, but like this.
go ahead,
Not
Tina.
wrap up.
I thought you were doing one of these. I
So
can't.
what does that
I
mean?
can't. I can't do that.
I can only imagine what that swirling finger
Yeah,
is
exactly.
swirling in.
It's very disturbing. I'm going to look at my AI rom-com generator and see what that meant.
I'm glad that you all are my good friends. So takes a nasty turn. Okay. Well, I'm
What are the shows that you want to pitch?
Me?
We're ending the show now. So
I got shows. I got shows.
okay,
man.
good. Well,
I've been watching Department Q.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Waterfront?
No.
Oh,
With
check
Marlon
that one out.
Marlon Brando, yeah.
Not that Waterfront. It's
Could have been a
it's really
contender.
it's set in North Carolina. It's really good.
Oh.
It's
Oh wait, no,
it's
we did start that, didn't
Yeah, I
we?
did.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
You know what? I'll tell you something. The first episode, it's kind of like, but I'm telling you, it builds and it really
Well,
gets to be good.
These are
Then-
classic rom-com generating AI at work here.
Yeah, Echo 3. Check that out if you like action adventures, CIA.
Come on,
stuff
get the
and,
Squid Game 3 just dropped.
Squid Game 3, Blue Ridge.
Hi.
Check out Blue Ridge. It's good. It's kind of like Ozark, but it's got more action in it.
Blue Ridge.
Murderbot.
Got more
Yeah.
action than Ozark? That got pretty
Yeah. At
Pretty
the end,
good.
it got, but this
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing is action.
Don't stand just off camera.
Blue Ridge.
Murderbot is still good, and every episode gets better. And Stick is still good, and every episode gets better.
No spoilers, please.
I'm not going to say a word about what they are, but I'm telling you,
about
there's a lot of good stuff out there, and right now it's crazy the amount of content, and it's across all the platforms. I mean, there's
it
even
is.
good stuff on ITVX, which is
I don't
weird.
even know what that is.
Wow.
It's pretty British.
I got a black what's a broad box? BritBox. There's a lot of
BritBox.
good stuff on there too.
Yeah,
A
it
lot of
sure
good
is.
stuff.
Got to pay for it.
I'm watching all this Netflix stuff. There's a author called, is it Harlan Coben?
Harlan Coben. He's
Coben.
terrific. Yeah, his
Well,
books
that-
are
that's-
really good.
Movies.
So there's all these
series.
foreign language versions of his novels. Some are Polish, some are Belgian, and they're all really good.
So I've been I think I've mentioned this before. Instead of reading, I listen. It's I'm not sure why, because I can't really see very good close up anymore. Ever since I got my cataracts done, I can see far away great, close up not so much. So I'm listening all the time.
Well,
And,
that can be a good editorial decision.
Depending on the voices, makes me really dive into these things. And there's so much good stuff out there that you start thinking, at least I do, you start thinking about which voices you want to hear reading whichever stories that you might not normally go to. I want to hear something that's done by a guy named Jeff Harding, who is like sort of the rough and tumble guy that does all the Reacher books. And there's just so many, and anything that's got the guy who does Bosch.
You have too much time on your hands, number one. And number two,
Yes, I do.
we are
What's
in
your
the
point?
death of peak TV. And it is not too much. There's not enough. There's barely enough.
Well, pretty soon our summer standard is coming back. A Gillmor
Bosch.
family tradition. We watch Big Brother. So I know,
Yeah.
but 20.
What about Love Island? Do you watch Love Island?
Absolutely not.
No,
So the new Bosch is coming back next in a couple of weeks, and it's called. Yeah, I promise. It's coming back on television, and it's about this cold case team that he becomes a part of, and I think the first episode will also include the Lincoln Lawyer.
Oh,
because they are in the books.
Yeah,
they're half brothers. Oh, the Lincoln Lawyer is pretty good, but in the books, they're half brothers.
Bosch is fantastic.
Yes, they're
Lincoln Lawyer.
brothers from another mother.
Oh, interesting.
And there's gonna be a crossover episode. It might be the first one. I'm not sure which.
Do you have the name of any of these shows?
Yeah, it's called.
I guess not.
You know what? Yes. I have to. I just have to. No,
No.
I can't remember. It's the name of the woman detective in the cold case
One who was
group. And
brought in on the last.
yes, in the very last episode, that woman. That's the name of the series, and
Ballard.
Ballard. That's right. And Bosch is now a member of Ballard's team, and somehow Mickey Haller will get involved. And so I'm just excited for that. That to me, that's like, and they're all going to come up at the same time instead of making you wait every week. You can binge the whole series in like a night, which is something I'm sure I'll do.
It's doable.
It will not be on a day that we have a show.
Keith, any shows?
Only the Harlan Coben one.
Okay. All right. And
Brent.
Keith, Brent.
I already said Squid Games. That's my. For now.
I know, but
And Brent, you liked
give me another
you
one.
like becoming Led Zeppelin, right?
It was all right.
Oh, it was all right.
Ooh,
It was
the
all
Bear's coming back too, by the way.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's already back. They're into like episode 4.
yeah. There was a spoiler alert that you have to pay attention to about the last episode of season 4.
Oh no, I don't mean the bear. I mean that one about the restaurant guy. What's
I
that called?
Isn't that the bear?
That's the Bear.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
But
in
I
episode.
didn't think that the new season had started. Now that
You
you've
could
told me
drop
it
the
is.
whole thing at the same time.
Oh, okay. That's it for me. I got to go.
Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. Happy birthday, Deanne.
Ah,
Bye bye.
for drinks.
Hmm.
Bye.
Chow mein
Bye.
in a whirl.